Welcome, friends, to Sunday Meditations by J.B. Minton for Sunday, July the 6th, 2025. It's been a harrowing 4 days in my house. One of our beloved animals, a dog named Cora, short for Corazon, named by my oldest child when he was taking Spanish in high school. Corazon means heart, of course, and this dog was all heart. She was a teddy bear, part Shih Tzu, part Bichon. Super smart, hypersensitive, filled with anxiety of the highest order. And about 4 years ago, to the day almost, she was diagnosed with an infiltrative lipoma in her groin. It was inoperable. Lipoma is not cancerous, but it may as well be. It has these little finger-like tendrils that just root itself into the nerve structure and the muscle structure. And it's essentially inoperable at that point. It's a completely invasive bodily reaction. And it was a slow death. It was a slow death sentence. And the vets told us at the time that there was procedures they could do. Radiation therapy, it would have involved like 45 days of daily anesthesia with irradiation applied to the area. And there was like a 30% chance that it would regrow. Surgery wasn't an option because it was in such a sensitive area that even to take one of the legs off, it would have still grown back. We chose the hard choice of living with it and making her as comfortable as possible. But what that means is that you're essentially living with a terminal patient for years on end, and you're watching this thing grow every day. You can't stop it, and you see her burden with it, lugging it around. When the horror was like, what does this mean when it's like critical? When this thing critically happens, is it going to explode? Is it going to stop her from being able to use the bathroom properly? We didn't know any of the answers to these questions. And yet all we had to offer the dog was love, comfort, and safety. And that's what we did for 4 years. But it was a daily struggle of watching the animal. And I realized in this time and age of people suffering indignities and horrors all over the planet, I have no business lamenting the loss of my little dog. But damn it, she meant a lot to me. And I'm going to miss her. I'm going to miss her strength. That dog took more pain than I've ever seen a creature take, especially one her size. We have invisible fence collars, and they shock when they go out of the boundaries. And one day I was out walking with her and in the yard, and I realized that she was just shocking herself when she's just figuring out where the edge of things were. And it was just something she took to figure out where the boundaries of things were. The dog was immensely strong and strong-willed. We used to say she had no quit in her, and she didn't have any quit in her at all until, of course, the very last minute when she had no choice in the matter. When you euthanize a dog, they generally put some type of a sedative, like really strong sedatives. I can't remember the name of it, but it basically 20 seconds they drop. And the vet tells you, when you say goodbye to this animal, do it then, because they have no consciousness or cognizance of their presence or awareness once that hits. And the most important thing when you're allowing a dog to transition, to pass away in your care, is that you are there with them. The best way to do it is to invite one of these in-home euthanists to come in. And if they're really good, they'll sit with you and allow you to have this experience as a family. And the most important thing about that, besides the dog's comfort or cat's comfort of passing away in the home, is that the other pets, if you have them, also get to see that. I think that was an enormous benefit for Cora when we lost our boxer a few years ago. I'm not quite ready to talk much more about Cora. It's still pretty raw. I was an only child, so my pets were like really intimate relationships that I had of deep love and affection and understanding. And this dog evoked a caregiving inside of me, that a maternal mothering instinct that nothing in my whole life is, not even my children. I know that's horrible to say, but my children were surrounded by love from other places. So I was more of a logistics guy. Support when needed and when expected, but much more of a logistics guy. I was not the emotional support for my children, but I sure was for this dog. She brought out the best in me. And they say that the depth of your hurt in loss is also a measurement of your love. And I believe that's true. So in that spirit, I wanted to share a reading of a piece that I wrote a few years ago when we lost our other dog, Lewis, who was a boxer, just a wonderful old soul. And it hurt like hell when I lost him. Something about losing these dogs. So here is a reading of Old Dogs and the Wellspring of Love, Writing My Way Through Another Loss by J.B. Minton, originally published on November 5th, 2022. The earth holds bones, so many bones. It's a big old grave we're fumbling around on here together. In marriage and friendship, we carve invisible spaces beside us in time. These spaces are for travelers we collect along the way of our lives. They have souls that last beyond their beating hearts. We have to believe this to keep our sanity, but can't you feel it too? When you wake up in the darkness of night and some terror seizes you, what gives you comfort? Have you ever felt comfort and safety together at the same time? These spaces for others we carve inside ourselves are the inverse of cemeteries. We dig these graves for the living while we are alive, but these sacred spaces are kept by the dead, and the dead keep them tight. I was 7 when my grandfather died. He was the whole world to me. Everything good in existence was wrapped up in my image of that man as a very young child. He was a bit of a shit for most of his life, but what good he had, he poured it into me, and I have kept it tight all these years. We keep things tight on both sides. I didn't even know he was sick. He wasn't around for a while, and then he was gone. My family chose to keep his illness from me because they didn't want to see the light go out in my eyes when I learned that nothing lasts on this cold planet. Not even the sunbeam that warms it will last forever. But I learned the lessons of loss anyway. We each inevitably do, and preferably young, because it deepens the experience of living in the only moment that matters, which is right now. I stared down at my pawpaw's body laid out in the coffin. It wasn't his face smiling back at me from that long box. It was a shell. I could feel that. As a young boy, I was playing in his small Midwestern backyard when I first encountered a locust shell. He taught me all about molting and moving on. I think about that lesson now, remembering how I pulled back from the casket when my mom leaned in to give Pawpaw one last kiss. My mom held my little face between her warm palms and asked me, "Juicy, you know that your paw would never hurt you, right?" I did. And with courage only delivered through the love of a mother, I leaned in and kissed his cold, dead cheek. These long goodbyes activate the spaces we've carved for others inside ourselves. This activation transfers ownership of our spaces to the dead once they cross over the temporary barrier separating all that is from all that has come before us. This is me intellectualizing to avoid my feelings. I write stories. It's my first defense against strong emotion. It's either art or war, another thing my grandfathers taught me. I don't want to avoid my feelings. On the contrary, I want to feel my feelings until they are done with me and dissolve. Every feeling has a beginning, a middle, and an end. My feelings are part of me, but they should not control me. I learned this lesson from Mr. Rogers when I was 3, but it's taken almost 50 years to apply it to my life and happiness. Disappointingly, it turns out that our lives are temporary conditions. However, the upside of this is that we sometimes get to choose the music that plays in the background of the scenes we create together in these shared moments, like this one between a writer and his treasured reader. We had to put our boxer dog through what we're all now calling end-of-life treatment. He was healthy to our eyes and ears until suddenly he wasn't. We hadn't read the signs of his body's distress. We fell asleep on the watch because we forgot that time had moved on. That's easy to do when you're in love with your family, each and all. Big Lou was getting old, white in the face, and his trotting, long-legged gallop had certainly slowed over time. But he was our Lou dog, as strong and loyal as a titan of the universe. The vet said, invasive tumor of the GI tract, likely lymphoma. The dog stumbled out last week and looked utterly fucked up, like he'd had a stroke. We babied him, took him to the vet, and got an expensive blood screen with some diagnoses. They'd need to do an ultrasound to determine more. Science provides information, but comes at a cost, often more than money can value. And all this information didn't leave us with many options and little time. A steroid shot might buy Lou weeks, but this creature lying around like he was in a depressive funk had no quality of life. He couldn't get up to use the bathroom or eat. 2 nights ago, he shit blood in the yard more than a few times, drawing the coyotes from their hunt in the field to a possible fresh kill in the low-cut green space where the blustering humans dwell. So it goes. We held his service at home. The vet came, and we gathered around him, my wife, my children, and the other dogs. The vet gave him a shot with a combination of sedatives and pain medicine. He blinked and fell into a deep rest, finally catching the long nap he'd been chasing late for his whole life. He was alive, but felt no pain and knew nothing happening around him. We placed our hands on his old, tired, damaged body. I squeezed and pulled on his ears a few last times. We didn't have his ears boxer cropped because it's cruel, and his ears made him more handsome, if that was even possible. The dog wasn't just a dog. Lou was a protector, a shield. I believe that animals bless us with their presence in this world. Animals can be protected and cared for, ignored and industrialized like crops, or treated with cruelty. I work to choose the first option of kindness and cohabitation. I know I could do more, but I'm a petty man who runs from problems that sacrifice my comfort. And I've always invested too much affection in my pets and toys. And when one dies and the other breaks, it's usually been a trauma for me. When confronted with the imminent loss of someone I love, I become Walter Cronkite, reporting news of pending demise. I repeat things like, "This could be the last time you pet him," or "This could be the last time we wake up and see his face," or "This could be the last time I'll let all our dogs out at night," with my flashlight and yelling voice ready to drive off the coyotes looking for their meal. I repeat this shit until everyone around me starts walking away. That's when I know I've gone too far. It is a good measure of one's worth to others by noting how often people walk away from you when you speak. The goal is to aim for that to never happen. In my head again, I'm working on a problem that death could be solved with the right tangential equation. Some emotions feel too big to hold inside. How can we cope with the joy and pain of being alive? Being alive means being aware of myself entirely at this moment. What feelings am I experiencing now? Feelings are temporary. They aren't all of us, just a part of us. I am not angry right now. I am a being experiencing anger at this moment, and soon I will be experiencing sadness and then loss and then acceptance. I am a being that feels all of this pain right now, but I am more than that pain because I also feel gratitude. When we feel the loss of someone after they pass away, crying tears of sadness for the time we will not share with them, we bless those sacred spaces that we've carved out for them inside ourselves. Those inverse graves become wellsprings of love that turn into acts of kindness. And there is no greater honor than passing that love on to others in how we behave. I've felt the light surrounding us all since I was first able to feel anything as the smallest child, long before I kissed my dead grandfather on the cheek in his coffin. It was probably too much imagination spent playing Star Wars, but I have gathered some great friends and family together over the years who have poured their love into me and allowed me to do the same for them. The last night Big Lou was alive, I crept out to say goodbye to him. I'd said goodbye to him 100 times over that last week, but this time it was the time. I said things I'll never repeat because they are embarrassing and sentimental, but they were honest. They came from a little boy who knew his grandfather would never harm him, but he still pulled back from the casket because he was small and afraid of what it means that things you love can end. That last kiss is the killer. For Lou, in a moment of resignation and sorrow, I wiped all the tears from my face and anointed his pointy head and those wonderful ears. It has to mean something when one creature massages its tears into the skin and hair of another that suffers. That act has to account for something in this world, some spell of protection for us all, a prayer to the broken gods to please protect my child. These desperate pleas are almost always followed by silence, because that is where faith is either born or aborted. Perhaps I'm just a sentimental, sappy human at heart, still the little boy playing with his toys long after they broke because they had become my friends. But also, perhaps sharing our tears with the suffering creatures we encounter is the whole point of this ridiculous thing called life. If we can do that once and mean it with everything in our soul, perhaps it just might make this painful journey worth it with all its laughter and loss. If we can walk through our traumas together while they happen, without dragging our chains along with us through time, we can become lighter and freer, maybe even happier people. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. Whether we call it spirit or soul or energy, we are powerful beings inside ourselves. Our capacity to mind kindness from the wellspring of love for others is a superpower, a counterbalance to the forces of darkness that would see the balance of our universe teeter into chaos. Wherever the energy that powered my sweet dog went, some simulation of heaven in his mind or mine, we are together, embracing through the sacred spaces we carved out for each other during our time we spent together in this life. I hope I meet my friend Lou Dog again. We had some good times, him and me. That was the end of the essay, and I'd like to add, I hope I meet my friend Cora again. We also had some damn good times. Thanks for sticking with me, friends. Thanks for listening to me blubber through this. Healing takes many forms, and communicating with words is one of mine. I appreciate it. Till next week, keep watching, keep listening, keep reading.